Well, he's got no talent and I'm filled with it.
Exactly. I rely on Michael, does everything, and I get all the credit, which is a really
and the
good...
money.
And the money,
And
yeah.
the money.
It's true. No, I think, joking apart, it's... I think, as this is a festival about cinematographers, it's... if you're a director, first of all, the cinematographer is by far and away the most important person that you have to work with. And you have to, I suppose, have the same kind of aesthetic sensibility. And the other thing is, which is really important, is that a film takes 3 months to make, and you have to spend 12 hours a day, 6 days a week with that person. So if you don't like that person, it can make your life a misery, really.
And it has.
And he's been making my life a misery for 40 years.
No, it's not friendship. It's all superficial.
No, it's hate, really.
No, it's hate. It's mutual hate. No, that's right. I mean, I think it's sharing an aesthetic, like, being friends, and also a sense of humour, which is really important. Because filmmaking it's a pretty intense, can be a very intense endeavour. And I think that the safety valve is maybe the sense of humour, and the fact that you share a lot of stuff. And I mean, which includes disagreeing, because I think that makes the agreement side of it stronger. No, we get a bit grumpy with one another, but that's part of, yeah.
I don't think we ever disagree from an aesthetic point of view, not from a point of view of how we see something. It's the only thing I think is always every director with a cinematographer is forever asking them to hurry up.
Because time is what drives everything.
Time is the worst thing. People always think about making films, and you're forever looking at your watch, trying to get what you have to get done in that day.
Plus a bit more.
And that affects the quality of the work. And if the time is taken away from you directing by the cinematographer, some cinematographers can spend all day lighting it, and then you've got 10 minutes to film it, which is ridiculous. So, but actually, Michael's quite fast. But when he's slow, he drives me crazy.
I don't think like that, do you really? I suppose the most pivotal was Midnight Express in the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. What's interesting is that we don't have favourites, but from different countries like different films, I mean, the film here, I think in Poland, maybe it's more likely to be Harry Angel, which is Angel Heart, is liked the most. In some other countries, it's Birdie, which we quite
Birdie, I think, is the most underestimated film that we did. I think it's on so many levels. It's a brilliant, brilliant film, and for whatever reason,
particularly my contribution. Yes.
Yeah. He said modestly. Is the distribution? Who knows? It doesn't matter at this point.
No, it was distributed by Columbia Pictures. It was not like it was badly distributed. I think that it was kind of a bit ahead of its time, really, which is always a difficulty in films. Someone said that it's best to be, second when you've got an idea, not first, because first is hard for people to appreciate. But the good thing about it, and I think, which I would say about all our films, and I think that it is because of Michael's work as a cinematographer, was so far ahead of its time that now when you look at the films, they look very modern, because everyone else is kind of caught up, really. So I think
it came out of a single source light. That was the thing. We both came out of commercials, and a couple of guys I worked with had that thing, which is sort of in painting, really. If you look, you can see where the light source comes from, whether it's Vermeer, Rembrandt, especially that school of painting, and went into photography and into film commercials and filmmaking. He did. No, the light source. And I suppose, for example, I used to work in Paris a lot, and it became called the Lumière Anglaise, English light. And in the days, I used to all over Europe and the States shooting commercials until after Midnight Express, when I started directing them as well, and then shooting movies with Alan, a couple of other people. And I think the thing was the single source light, which was figuring out, okay, if you switch off these two lights, all the light comes through the big window, so you try and use that as your source. And it can really simplify stuff. And if it's dramatically appropriate, then you use it. But it's, and that can be, if you think about it first, it's sort of, and it helps the director despite him screwing around like that. It does, because everybody serves a director. Do you know what I mean? You get a big lighting frame up there and you can pretty much film everything every way. And so that means the director has the maximum amount of time to work with the actors, which is what it's about.
The interesting thing is, when we first started, the more conventional cinematographers thought that the light wasn't real, and actually, in fact, it was much more about reality than it was about the kind of artificial lighting that cinema always had up to that point.
Which was dictated by film, because if you didn't put a light on it, you didn't see it. So there you had the key light, the fill light, the eye light, the hair light, the clothes light, this, and from black and white, and that was.
But that became the norm. But that became
art.
its own reality.
Yeah.
But it was nothing to do with the reality of life, and all you did was to simplify it like we would now. I mean, this unfortunately there's a lot of artificial light in this room.
I'm pretty simple, and so are you. So it was appropriate.
Exactly. Well, it was quick. That's why I liked it. I didn't care how it looked. I thought I could get on with my work.
Good luck. It's tough. Now, the thing is, there are so many ways of making films, from a cell phone through the little camera there, the bit bigger one there, to the biggest film camera in the world. And ultimately, it comes down to one thing: ideas. That's it, I think. The cinema for sure has got dumbed down now, and advice. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't know where to start. I don't know about you. To give
I think advice. Technology has changed so much. So cinematography has obviously changed drastically. But from a director's point of view, it's too many directors are concerned with the technology of how to make films, because most modern films rely so much on technology. Actually, the most important thing for a director is actually, do you have anything to say? And if you have nothing to say, you ought not to be a director. And unfortunately, too many young filmmakers go into making films because they're interested in working on a computer and being interested in digital effects.
Well, because they can. That's the other thing. If you think about it, if you got on a cell phone and then download it onto your computer, you can have written it, shot it, edited it, done the music, and a lot of stuff looks like it.
It's not a bad thing, and that's a democratizing of the creative process is good, in that everyone now can tell their stories, but they're they won't necessarily be good stories. Yeah, you're being filmed, Michael. I'd like to point out. You know, this could be on the internet.
I know. Cool. YouTube. Seresin filleting a microphone.
Is that the verb?
Isn't it? I just made it up. No, it's hard. I think for cinematographers, I see walking around London, people making films on a camera like that big, up to the usual old big Baraflex and Panavision, and who knows where it's going to end up? TV, a lot of it, I guess. It's tough. It really is tough. And I'm looking back, as always, an exercise in futility. But I think we came out of not a golden age, but a period when we were really young, we did really well, we enjoyed it, we had fun, and we made fucking good movies. And I think that in the end is, you can't sort of, I think there's not a lot of people who could say that now. Do you think?
No, I agree. Well, I think that these things go in cycles.
Yeah, but
here in Poland, there's fantastic history of telling stories, and not a great tradition for technological films. So I think, in a way, that's more appreciated here in Poland than it is elsewhere. Except also, in Poland, everybody goes to see the big American special effects 3D movies, just like everywhere else in the world.
Yeah. Well,
whether that'll affect the filmmakers, I don't know.
Well, I guess because if you got 1,000 cinemas and 750 is showing a movie like that, you don't have a lot of choice. Whereas a small Polish movie or Czech Republic or whatever,
which might be more valid. Might be more valid.
What?
Darren Aronofsky, how are you?
Did you get lucky last night? Don't run away. Come on, we need some spice in our lives.
No way. I can't
Him.
stand him. Never.
Christ. Talk about... No.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I would sooner have my teeth drilled and my kneecaps.
Me too.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.